Hi, my name is Sheila Flanagan, and I am the head cheesemaker and owner at Nettle Meadow and the Hitching Post, and you are listening to Ingredient Insider.
This is Ingredient Insiders. I'm John Magazzino.
And I'm Andrea Parkins.
On each episode of Ingredient Insiders, we'll be talking with chefs and authors about their favorite ingredients.
And cheesemakers. We then speak to the producer of that ingredient to learn its history, how it's made, and why chefs love using it in their kitchens.
Today's going to be just another joy of an episode. We are in beautiful upstate New York.
Lake Luzerne.
Yeah, the southern Adirondack Mountains at what I can just say is an idyllic, beautiful place, which is Nettle Meadow Cheesemakers.
I think when you picture a U.S. cheesemaker, this is the area that you
I
picture.
sure hope it looks like this. I've been to a lot of cheesemakers.
Yep.
Not all of them look like this. Not all of them are as beautiful as this. And I love the fact that this is family-owned. She said it herself, a mom and pop artisan cheesemaker.
When you say she, it's Sheila Flanagan.
Yep.
Who is the head cheesemaker here at Nettle Meadow, and her partner, Lorraine.
Yep. So it's funny. We talked about this a little bit. Like, I knew Koenig cheese before we came up here.
Yeah.
Just had a chance to taste some of these cheeses.
Do you have a different appreciation now, John, than you did when you walked in?
Absolutely. I mean, to taste through the line of these cheeses was really eye-opening. And I mean, I will say this to all the chefs that are out there listening, and even if you're not a chef, get these cheeses on your menu and on your cheese board. And if you're at home and you're just a cheese lover, go to your local cheese shop. It's very easy to remember. Koenig, Three Sisters, Adirondack, like the Adirondack Mountains. Put those three cheeses out for your friends and family. Your job is done. You do not need to. Not that there's anything wrong. I love French cheese and I love Italian cheese, but support American cheese makers, and especially one in New York.
100%. You really don't have to do much with these cheeses. You just stick them on the plate.
I can't wait to talk to Sheila.
I know.
I want to know, like, how did she even come up with this?
But I'm nervous,
She's a
John.
judge
She's
or
a judge.
lawyer. Yeah,
I don't want to get arrested.
Well, I don't know if she's going to help you or not, but...
But if I ever did, maybe
she
would.
She's probably pulling up your rap sheet right now while she's waiting for us.
That speeding ticket.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking with Sheila. We're also going to be speaking with Cara Warren, who is our really dear friend from Isigny Ste-Mère, which is a butter and cheese company in France. Isigny is actually partnered with Nettle Meadow, which is, I can't wait to hear kind of how this happened and how this relationship is blossoming. But I think it's pretty cool that a French cheese company is backing a U.S. cheese company.
I think it's crazy, amazing. Yeah. And it just says a lot for where the world of American cheesemaking has come in the last several years, because to think that the French would not only approve of, but get behind an American cheesemaker, it blows my mind.
So let's go talk to Cara and Sheila.
Cannot wait. Let's talk about cheese.
On Ingredient Insiders. This season of Ingredient Insiders is brought to you by Isigny Nuts, a name synonymous with exceptional quality and taste in the world of gourmet nuts and dried fruits. Whether you're crafting a Michelin star-worthy dish or just whipping up something delicious in your home kitchen, Isigny's premium selection is designed to inspire your culinary creativity. Elevate your dishes with the rich texture and flavors that only Isigny nuts can offer. From toasted almonds, perfect for garnishing, to pistachios that add a crunch to your salads, Isigny has everything you need to enhance your recipes. Don't miss this chance to impress your palate and your guests with Isigny nuts, the chef's choice for quality and flavor.
This episode is in partnership with the Chef's Warehouse and produced by Gotham Production Studios in New York City. Where are we, Andrea?
We're in Lake Luzerne, New York.
No, but I mean, where are we exactly?
We are at the Hitching Post.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful historic restaurant and creamery in Lake Luzerne, New York.
Yeah.
That is...
It's the home of
Nettle Meadow
cheese making, which I knew this was good cheese before we came here, but we just had like a little cheese fest.
I wouldn't call it a little cheese fest. I'd probably call it a big cheese fest.
my mind is blown right now. We are here
eating some of the best cheese, I believe, in not only New York, but I believe in the United States. And I think
thank you.
It's
I'm gonna
super
say
special.
in the world.
Yeah. I mean, like, so special. What you're doing, not just here at the hitching post, but also at your animal sanctuary, which we're going to get into more. We're sitting here with Sheila Flanagan, who is the head cheesemaker at Nettle Meadow. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming and trying our cheese and meeting our animals and our fantastic staff and seeing the fun and unique ambiance we have here.
And we're also here with Cara Warren from Isigny Ste-Mère, the great French cheese producer. And we'll talk a little bit about this because it's really interesting because there's a collaboration now between France
and the U.S.
and New York State, let's say. We just mentioned a second ago, this cheese is world class. And we had a conversation a little bit before we started about how cheese has come along in the United States in the last, is it 10 years? Is it 20 years? I just know as an old person myself, as a senior citizen,
AARP member.
When I grew up and I was in high school, there wasn't a lot of selection for fine cheeses. If you wanted a brie, you could get something in the specialty market or even the supermarket that wasn't particularly special. And I had a life-changing event when I was 14 or 15 years old. I got to go to France on a high school exchange trip for 2 weeks. Snuck onto this trip. My sister was actually supposed to go. She was a great student. I wasn't good. But
Did you put on a wig?
No, she had a track meet. No, she had a track meet, and she couldn't go, so I got to go. And I am telling you, it was an epiphany for me because it was the first time I really tried great cheese, and I was like, oh, now I understand what people are talking about when they talk about camembert or brie, and or a baguette. All of these things that, you could get good bread in New York City years ago, but to have this like experience where you're having this unctuous cheese that was just mind blowing, and that always stuck with me. And then my reference point for like having a lot of good food in general was like, you got to go to France, you got to go to Italy, you got to go somewhere. And today I think the tables have turned in that American producers are making cheeses and cured meats and other things that are every bit as good, if not better, than what's coming out of Europe. And that's something I think we should talk about because it's so amazing that you don't have to just go to your cheese shop and buy something imported when the beautiful
even though there's
thing
some
is,
amazing imported cheeses.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's enough room for everyone, I like to say.
Yeah.
I mean, working for a French dairy cooperative like Isigny and now doing sales for Nettle Meadow, I have room to talk to everyone, and I don't have to limit myself. And it's a conversation that everyone's excited to have right now because Nettle Meadow is one of the most iconic U.S. producers, and Sheila has been hiding in the mountains for quite a bit, and now it's just so nice to have her exposure. And I mean, Sheila, you should talk about it too. How do you feel about like the partnership with France? I think it's really highlighting you in the best way possible, and you're so ready for it now.
I agree, and it's really wonderful because just the appreciation for our American cheese from amazing and iconic in their own right French producers, Isigny's cheese. I mean, I was overwhelmed when I visited because you walk down a hallway and it's an extremely long hallway, and there are awards that just cover the walls like 4 levels high from all over the world. And to have these guys come here and have cheese like we did today and be like, oh my God, this is really amazing. This is all American cheese. This is all really made here in this 18,000 square foot facility. This is really wonderful. And it's life affirming because this is my life. This has been my life for 20 years is making this cheese. And I do think we make wonderful cheese. I do think our team is one of the best teams in the world, and it's great when we can have this cross-Atlantic appreciation for each other's craft.
Yeah, I love it.
That was very well said.
Yeah, beautiful. We're less than or 3 hours from New York City right now, and this is an epicenter of great cheese. What makes great cheese? Is it the raw material? Is it the is it the technique? What is it that makes these cheeses so great?
That's a great question, first of all, and it is not one thing. And over 20 years, I can tell you that if you lose one of the important parts, that brings a cheese down. So you need to have great components, great raw milk.
I was going to say milk first.
The creatures that produce that raw milk have to be eating holistic, healthy food and living in a healthy environment. You have to have all of the other ingredients need to be holistic. We try for all natural products at all times.
Even the rennet is microbial.
Even the rennet is microbial. Yeah, it is. It is. We're a very animal friendly location by all means, and we'll talk about the sanctuary later. And then you have to have a very clean, very healthy environment for the cheese to live in. You have to have incredible care, and I think you can't have incredible care for cheese unless your team is passionate. So you have to have great passion, you have to have good knowledge, craftsmanship, care about consistency, and then you have to put all of those parts together. If you lose a little of that passion, you're in trouble. If you lose some of the milk quality, you're in trouble. If all of these things. And then the smallest thing, I mean, we had an experience at one point where we lost one of our packaging producers, and we had to look for a new wrap. And that was one of the most horrific experiences of my entire life because, it's just a wrap. It's just a wrap, but it's so important. And so...
it's in the details. I really think it's in the details, and you're a master of balancing all those details.
I think balance is the word that kept coming to mind as you were talking. I think you're the master of balance when it comes to making cheese.
And blending these different types of milk.
Because it's not just cow or, I mean, listen, there are a few that are, single milks.
Sure, but
like my favorite cheese on this board is a 3 milk cheese, so.
Yeah, Three Sisters you're talking about.
Yes, Three Sisters, which I'm still thinking about it. And I'm going to continue to think about it on my drive home today. It left an impression on me. And I think that's incredible. But I'm wondering, because you said the last 20 years it's been a part of your life. Like this, what made you want to do this? This is like this is all encompassing, this cheese line.
It really is. It is an entire life's work. And I think what made me do it is, I started off on the basic process of, well, you have to go to college, and then you go to college and you decide, well, do I want to be professor of history? Do I want to be a lawyer? Do I want to be a this? Do I want to be that? Oh, okay, I'll be a lawyer. And so I was a lawyer, and I pushed papers, and I defended corporations, and I hated it. It was completely soul-sucking, And, I had grandparents who made things with their hands, and I had grandparents that were dairy producers. And I saw so much romance because I was young and I hadn't tried to do it myself yet, in doing that and just producing something amazing. And I wanted to get back to those roots. And so I felt that I have this huge love of animals. My partner, Lorraine, and I both love animals, wanted to do something different. She was also working in the legal field, and it was not good for our souls. And so we moved into this world of making great cheese, and it was really good cheese, but we just kept building on it and building on our team. I think I'm finally in a place where I feel like I am making, some great products like my ancestors did, and that feels really good. And I'm, not pushing any papers, so that feels good too.
Yeah.
And she's a judge, Andrea, too. If you
she
get
is a judge. I already asked for her
on your way
card.
out of town, just mention her
Yes,
name, and
yes.
she'll be okay.
She wears many hats.
I do.
Yes, it was very impressive to hear. You're in San Francisco. You see a newspaper ad. I don't know if that's 100% accurate for a farm. And you decide to move across the country and start making cheese. I mean,
it was a little bit of an early midlife crisis. If you work in the legal field, I think there's probably going to be several lawyers out there that see or hear this podcast and say, yes, I know what that's like. Because, it's, you start to practice law and you think, God, there's got to be more to life. And so for us, it allowed us an opportunity to move back towards family, because I'm originally from Stamford, Connecticut, and Loren's originally from Hoboken. So it made sense. Parents were getting older and whatnot. So
But you took on a few goats. What happened was you had a few goats to start, right?
Yes, and we were making amazing cheese, and we were foolish because we're like, oh, this is the best cheese ever, because we had Nigerian dwarf goats, and so the butter fat is like 3,000%, and so we were like, oh well, we just make such great cheese, not thinking, oh well, we're using Nigerian dwarf goat.
How are you going
milk.
to scale this?
How are you going to scale that?
Yeah.
I think there was one person once upon a time who did try to make Nigerian dwarf goat cheese as a commercial commodity. And I don't think they lasted.
That person was
I don't
never
think
found.
they lasted very long.
We don't
No.
know their name or
No,
anything
I don't
more.
remember what happened to them, but they learned quickly that that's not
But
really
eventually
viable.
you added sheep and cows, and that's now kind of like
that's kind of our shtick now.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, when
So-
you walk through the
Yep.
the creamery, there's 3 vats. I
Yes.
saw there's the cow, the goat, and the sheep. And when we got here today, there was actually a Mennonite family that was dropping off milk.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I believe last night you said, was it 17 or 14 farmers that
Yes.
that you're working with?
We work with 17 different farms. So,
Okay.
So when we started, we were all farmstead. We were really insane. We had the goats, we had the sheep, and we had Jersey cows all on the farm.
So you were doing all the milking.
We were doing all the milking and making all the cheese. And, in the early days, we were distributing, too. We were, delivering cheese to Whole Foods out of our Honda Element. Seriously. Seriously. And so those were crazy times. But as we've progressed and as I have aged, as we've all aged, it seemed like we should focus on what we do best, which is making cheese. And as we've grown and grown and grown, we also wanted more room for the animals. We wanted more barns for the animals. The more space they have, the healthier they are, the better their lifespans. And so we came up with this model where we are leasing goats, sheep, and cows out to different families that had lost their milk contracts because they were too small. We talked a little last night about how strongly we feel about not beating up the milk, not having too large of farms, not running it through too many different pipelines because that changes flavors. And that's one of those components that makes a great cheese. So we decided we'd work with all of these smaller families, and it's worked out great for us because now the original farm is a sanctuary where we have 130 or so mostly retired goats and sheep. And it's
And a 5-day-old baby peacock.
and a 5-day-old baby peacock.
That was so cute.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
cute.
So, anyways, it's a great model, and working with all of these families have given, it was so wonderful when COVID first happened. We were able to keep going, and all of these families were able to keep going because we kind of pivoted and kept our market and everyone. There's so many dairy farms were in a lot of trouble, but our dairy farms all subsisted, and that was exciting.
On my drive up here this morning, I had an opportunity to listen to Cutting the Curd, which
Yes.
Cara has an amazing podcast, as we all know.
Yep.
And I highly
Thank you,
recommend
guys.
everybody listen to that. And on the episode, Sheila, that you're on, this one thought started coming through my head because you could hear the passion in your voice. You know, as Andrea mentioned, you looked at an ad and, a real estate ad and said, I got to come and visit this farm and I want to buy this farm. It's one thing to want to love that and get that idea in your head and do that. How in the hell did you know what the cheese was that you were going to make? Because the Three Sisters and the Kunuk, these are world-class cheeses. And when we say that, I mean, you go back and if you talk about world-class cheese in France, there's hundreds of years of history behind the cheese making. How did you know? Was
How to
there a
do this?
flavor profile in your brain going, I want it to taste like this? And if so, what was the bar that, like, what was your reference point for making your cheese? I'm so curious.
It's a great
about that.
question, John.
It is
Very
a
good
good
question,
question,
yeah.
and I had to really think about it. Like it wasn't like when you asked it, it wasn't like, oh, I know the answer to that, because I had to think about it. And I think one of the things, I mean, a lot of it was luck and happenstance, because being that bougie lawyer, right? I had the opportunity to try amazing number of cheeses from all around America and all around the world. And so I knew what I thought was good and what I didn't think was good. And I got to enjoy cheese, various wines. And I did get to think about what I liked about some cheese profiles. Some triple cremes were really, I thought, excellent and complicated, and other triple cremes and double cremes I just thought were really bland and boring and not worth, the money that you put into them necessarily. And so I did have an opportunity to think about these things. And so when we started doing this, the other opportunity I had, which was purely happenstance, and Cara mentioned it at the beginning of this episode, is that we are way up in the mountains. We barely got.
There's no service. That's where
there's
we're
no
at.
service. There was
no phone service.
there was
That's
barely
fair.
radio. There's barely radio up here, especially 20 years ago when we started doing this. And so there's not a lot of outside anything. Like if we made a cheese that people didn't like, we wouldn't hear about it necessarily. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of sounds saying, oh, you need to make more of this kind of cheese or that kind of cheese, Sheila. It was just, we were able to just make it, decide whether we liked it, improve upon it. We never compared ourselves to anyone else. We never tried to make someone else's cheese. People would come and say, oh, that's like really like a Valençay. Is that what you were trying to do? And I was like, a Valen what?
Yeah, exactly.
And so
you're kind of on your own island, which I
Yeah.
think is great. It
Yeah.
reminded, as you're describing that, this is a totally different subject, but Warren Buffett, right?
Oh,
Everybody's
okay.
heard of that guy.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's
that
made
guy
a lot of
exists.
money.
Mm-hmm.
And you think of like finance people. I always think of guys in New York City in suits and ties trying to figure out how to make all of this fortune. He was in Omaha, Nebraska, separated from all the noise
Sure,
that you're
actually.
talking about.
right.
And he said it enabled him to make sound financial decisions because there wasn't some guy taking him out to lunch saying, let me tell you about my company. And I think, maybe it's a horrible analogy, but you're up here in Thurman, New York,
Yep.
3 hours away from everything. Andrea couldn't get cell phone coverage, so she couldn't look at her Instagram. And I was having trouble texting people.
Yeah.
But you were in a quiet place where you could do your art without the interference. And I think that's really important because
Yeah.
these cheeses are... sometimes comparisons are nice because they make it easy for someone to say, oh, have a reference point. These are their own special, unique things.
I just want to
I
say,
can't draw a comparison.
from
Not at
a
all.
cheesemonger, cheese-making standpoint to describe to your listeners, they're a soft-ripened, bloomy rind triple creme cheese made with mixed milks.
Yes.
That's a lot to understand, but it means you really know how to make cheese.
Yeah.
Like soft-ripened cheeses, you can see them at the farmer's market. They're usually ammoniated, bitter, overripe. Sheila has perfected this. There's a thin rind, a lactic center, delicious flavors, and she's playing with the ratio of milk based on season. The fat changes based on what the animals are eating. I mean, there's so many different little details that go into this.
There's
So-
a whole laboratory where they're
yeah.
testing to make sure that it's consistent every single time. I think my question is, how did you learn how to do this?
Practice and
Like,
failure.
did you read a book? Did you go to a class? Did you,
I know, it's amazing because there's so many people, I've had interns and they've said, oh, I interned in Italy and then I interned in France and then I interned in England and these were all amazing and I've learned all these wonderful things. And where did you go to school? And I say, well, like law school or, graduate school or what? But I didn't. And I that's why I feel like it's so much happenstance because no one was telling me how or what I should be doing or shouldn't be doing. I've got a wonderful cheesemaker that I work with, and I have to give him a shout out. He's been doing this, and I can't even count how many years. He just walked onto our property one day, and he said, well, I've tried, working at a couple of other creameries. I'm a chef by nature. I have some crazy ideas, and he's wonderful. His name is Sal Spites, and he's like my little brother. he's like me. We're not really people. Like one of the reasons we make cheese, we like it up there on the mountain, right? And
So I have 130 animals on your farm.
right.
Would you rather hang out with a goat or a human?
Oh, the goat every day.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So-
me too. That's a
I think
cheesemaker's
I'm-
answer
I think
right
I should
there.
be a
100%.
cheesemaker.
Yep.
But part of what makes our cheese good is the collaboration of the team, and Sal is one of the original team members, and so the Sappy U is a weird ass cheese, right? Can I say ass on the
Yeah, you can
podcast?
Yeah, you can say
I don't think
All
it's
right.
too
You can say
family
chef.
friendly
We're
here.
no-
Yeah, no.
So it's a weird ass cheese, and it's all based on Sal's ideas. Like, so he was like, well, I think we should do the maple, and I think we should have a little black ash on the outside because the sour notes, because he's very, very, he's got all that chefiness that I, aspire to, but it's more of a pretend.
You're very modest, Sheila.
But
Yeah.
but he just, so he helped to come up with the idea for Sappy U, and so I just want to kind of give that shout out. So yeah,
Sal.
Kunik I might have, come up with, or Three Sisters, but it's a team thing, It's like Jillian you met earlier,
Yeah.
very young cheesemaker, very dynamic, very passionate with our company, and she's like, yeah, too much apple brandy in the Adirondack. We should, dial it back. And so some of the ideas are mine, but it's a team sport, cheesemaking. You couldn't do it alone.
Is there a school of cheesemaking in
So
the world, in the U.S.?
The answer is yes. There is definitely in California and in Vermont they have, and Wisconsin, of course. Excuse me. Those 3 states absolutely have cheesemaking schools. But Sheila is hard knocks. She just
Sure.
It was trial and error.
Yeah.
Yes.
How
Yes.
long did it take you to make a piece of cheese that you felt like you could sell?
With Kunik, we kind of went into it selling it as it was, and people liked it and it was good. But I think it took me 4 years to get Kunik to a place where I was like, I'm proud of this cheese. I want to enter it into a contest. I want other people in other states to know about Kunik. I don't just want it to be a New York City or a New York State thing. So that took us about 4 years. I learned so much from that experience about developing rinds, about the cream lines, about aging, about what the right time to eat a cheese is, what the right temperatures to keep a cheese, how to age it better. So I went through that kind of 4-year process, and it helped me to, like, when a friend of mine came from Cheeseworks and said, Sheila, you got to make a 3 milk cheese now. You should make a sheep, goat, and cow. And I think it took me about 8 months to get to a point where, like, I want to sell 3 Sisters. So that was a lot faster. But then at the same time, I've also tried to make cheeses. Nettle Peaks was something we made for about a decade. And I don't think I was ever happy with it. Like, I think that's one of the reasons it's not in our
core
lineup anymore.
right now. Yeah.
Is because it's a great idea. I wanted to make something where I was using thistle rennet, plus I wanted to use thistle tea from the nettle. Wouldn't it be fantastic? And isn't it cool that it's glassy? But
This is the artistic side
Yeah,
of you.
but-
yeah.
but it was never like it had such a short shelf life because it would dry out because that glassiness. And so sometimes you just you also have to know when to walk away, I guess is the answer. Like you should keep trying to perfect it till you think it's just to the right place, but you also need to know when to walk away and say,
You can't just keep tinkering forever.
well, I don't think so. Like I learned that with
You
Nettle
can try, but
Peaks.
sales will say no more.
Yeah.
Time to put it in.
Yeah.
So, Sheila, you've mentioned a few of the cheeses. You mentioned the Sappy U, which is a cow and sheep.
Yep, with
With
maple.
the ash and maple.
Yep.
Can you kind of take us through the core lineup of your
Absolutely.
cheeses?
So, Sappy's kind of out there on the outer edge right
B
now. So
side,
I should be not talking about it so much. But so we have the center core of Kunik, right, which is goat's milk with cow cream, and that's really at least 60% of our sales, and that's what you find on so many wonderful fine dining, cheese boards around the country.
And this thing's won a lot of awards.
Lots of
we
awards.
should mention
Yeah.
those
Yes.
are not insignificant
Yeah,
awards.
like
Yeah.
yep.
World Cheese Awards.
A second place at Mondial, or excuse me, that was for Adirondack. I'm jumping ahead,
Yeah.
but Kunik has won tons of World Cheese Championship awards, right?
blue ribbons, gold medals, double golds.
I just want to keep repeating this. This is one of the world's best cheeses made in New York. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Wait.
Well-
Didn't the New Yorker say that the Kunich was the sexiest cheese
Actually, and
alive?
Saxelby.
And Saxelby said
Yeah,
that. I mean,
and
and
Saxelby
Saxelby mentioned that,
Yeah.
which is, you
I
know,
mean, coming from
she-
her,
yeah,
incredible.
Yes.
very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah. I still thank her every day for that.
So the Kunich is the signature, the flagship.
It's the iconic
It's
cheese
the
Yes.
that we
iconic
sell,
cheese
iconic
of
Kunich.
Nettle
Yeah.
Meadow.
And it
Um,
comes in not only in a larger format, but you can also get Kunich minis.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes,
And some
3.5
chefs love
ounce,
that because they
yes.
can cut it up on the plate and it looks really dynamic, all cut up like a little flower on the plate.
Yeah,
Or they can get a bigger piece and cut into that. It just depends on their.
exactly.
But even the full form's not too big. It's
No,
how
no,
many,
it's
is it a 1
is it
pound?
8 or 10 ounces
Oh.
that you say?
It's about a 9 to 10 ounce piece.
Yeah,
9
not
to 10
even a
ounce.
pound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a big investment for a
No.
restaurant.
No,
Okay.
no.
Or
No.
your home.
No, and
No.
with the
I
shelf
think I
life.
ate 8 ounces myself about
I was just
5
gonna say
minutes
it's
ago.
easy to eat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know that
Yeah.
when you purchase it from Chef's Warehouse, you should have around 50 days on it. So I
Yes.
think you can 100% eat 10 ounces of cheese in 50 days.
For sure. For
I've
sure.
seen John Magazzino do it. So.
In 50 minutes, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got the Kunich.
Yep. And then from there, I think that the next big offshoot of cheese for Nettle Meadow is the Adirondack. So it's very much a taste of place. It is an all cow's milk cheese for people that, are not big goat's milk cheese lovers. And then we infuse it with Applejack brandy. So that gives it a little bit of a floral note instead of an appley note. Cara was saying earlier a malty note, which I do taste. And it also breaks the butter fat down. So like it's a triple creme, but it just kind of blows the mind and the kind of the butteriness of that cheese.
It's truly a sensational cheese. I cannot name another cheese that's like this out there. So for
Agreed.
me, it's if you're gonna go for another Nettle Meadow cheese besides Kunich, Sheila's right. Adirondack all the way. Not Adirondack.
We're in the Adirondack
Adirondacks.
Mountains.
Eating Adirondack.
Eating Adirondack.
I know that's a
Right.
tongue twister a little bit, but
Yes.
It could be Adirondack from the Adirondack.
oh
But it
my
really
god,
speaks
really,
to-
John?
Did I just say
You
that?
did that. Wow, I'm
It's a
impressed.
tongue twister.
That's really good. It was really good.
If you're going to make a cheese in New York, I think using apple, like you kind of have to. So to me,
Yes.
that's like the quintessential New York cheese.
I see it everywhere for the fall.
Yes.
I'm just like I'm prepared for it.
100%.
The fall season cheese plates. Let's go.
I also want that like on a grilled cheese with you had mentioned that the Kunich is on with the paramustarda and the
Yes.
bacon.
Yeah.
I also want that with bacon.
yeah.
I don't know, some apple and
Yes.
maybe some caramelized onions.
Yeah.
Andrea wants everything.
Yeah. I was
True
just
or
gonna
not?
say. I was like, can I be invited over
Yes.
for that?
Sounds delicious to me.
Apparently she
Amazing.
got a nice care package
I
in the
might
mail
have
that
some
I didn't
bacon at
get.
home.
I'm just
Oh.
saying we're throwing back to another one of your episodes,
Yeah,
Baker's
exactly.
Bacon. Jesus.
Okay, go ahead. All right.
And then
Keep going, Sheila.
Yeah.
All right, so then we have the sugar loaf, which is kind of like the entry level triple creme. It's cow's milk triple creme, also buttery, a little bit more firm than the Adirondack, and it's also a lovely cheese for someone who just wants your basic triple creme cow's milk cheese. I mean, you've
This
got
is
your
sugar
butter
loaf.
notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got your you've got kind of that still have that taste of place of the Adirondack, so you can have that mushroomy hint that you get from Kunich or Adirondack, but you just get it in a very friendly entry level kind of
Yeah.
cheese.
Sophisticated and simple, for
Yes.
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what sounds like a fun job? Naming cheeses. Like the person who gets
Yes.
to put the name, make the name.
I feel like that about nail
Kunich,
polish
I
too,
love. I got the answer to where the Kunich name came from on the
On
Cutting the Curd
yes.
podcast. So it's named after
An original goat.
a goat, a
in
Nigerian
peace.
dwarf or no.
No, this was a sonnen.
A
So
sonnen,
it's
okay.
kind of snow and kiss it's an Inuit word for snow and kiss, and so the sonnen goats are white, and so they look like snow.
Got it.
And so yes,
That's
Who were the
that's
three
who Kunich
sisters?
was.
So the three sisters are mountains. You'll find that a lot of our cheeses are named after mountains. So there
Okay.
are mountains. There is three mountains coming in from Warrensburg to Thurman as you cross the Hudson River, and those mountains are called the Three Sisters. So it seemed like a no-brainer that is what that cheese
Tell us
needed to
about
be
that
called.
cheese because that
Yes.
one
Is
knocked
my
socks
favorite.
off.
So-
like love.
So that
Love.
is truly a combination of sheep, goat, and cow. So there are seasonal variations in that cheese. It is a little bit more sheep heavy in the spring and early summer, and a little sheep light in the winter. But it is a phenomenal cheese at all times. It is not a triple creme. It is simply a sheep's milk, a little bit firmer. It's got a great shelf life to it and a great durability. It travels well across the country because we don't add a bunch of cream to it, so it's not as delicate as some of the other cheeses, but it's just got wonderful flavor. And time like now, like July, August, September, is kind of when you have the perfect balance on that cheese, because it's like, 33% of all three milks.
So
and
we
it's just
tried it in
perfect.
its prime.
I was gonna say Sheila's keeping secrets from me because I didn't know that.
If you are a customer at Chef's Warehouse, I really ask of you to open the app and add a piece of Three Sisters to your cart immediately, because it will be worth everything. I mean, I was blown away.
Yeah, you had a life-changing moment earlier.
I did. I mean, listen,
I saw
I'm
it
not
on your face. I was like, oh my God, I think she actually really, really loves this sheep's milk cheese.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've said it many times on this podcast. I'm not a big goat cheese lover. And I took a bite.
I'm trying to change that for you for
and
the best,
Cara,
but it's hard. Yeah, it's
and
tough
I took
right
a bite, and my face just lit up.
Mhm.
I immediately was like, this is delicious. And so that's another thing. Try everything. Even if you think you don't like it, just try it once, because you never know if you're going to have that life-changing bite.
I want to snowball on that, Andrea.
Okay, John.
Because
Ooh.
I agree 100%. The cheeses, we've said it 10 times since this episode started, the cheeses are amazing. Another really important thing here, these are American cheeses.
Mm-hmm.
They're New York cheeses, but they're also family-owned cheese producers, which is becoming a rarity in the world. This is not, no offense to Isigny Ste-Mère
No. I mean,
any other cheesemakers out there.
Yeah.
But this is still the type of producer that our listeners want to support, because
absolutely.
it's Sheila and Lorraine, right? I mean,
Yep.
these are the owners of the
Women-owned.
cheesemaking
Yep.
production. It's still a very hands-on, small production by large.
It's not a commodity cheese
cheese-making.
producer,
Yeah.
what you're saying, but it's not the smallest anymore. That's what I like to say.
But this is still artisanal cheese of
Yeah.
the highest order. And I think it's important to talk about, because a lot of the cheeses that people are buying today are produced in a massive way.
Mm-hmm.
And like anything that scales that large, at some point, you may lose a little bit of something. And I just think you want to support this type of production.
It takes it back to what Sheila said in the beginning.
Yeah.
You need all those things. You need the good milk. You need the passion. And I think when you eat some of those commodity-driven cheeses, you don't taste the passion. It's there, and it's become maybe a custom of a family. Oh, we always buy this cheese.
Mm-hmm.
This is not that.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. I loved it. When I was waiting here this morning, when I arrived, an Amish family showed up, father, son, daughter, and came in and said, "We've got a milk delivery for Sheila." And I was like, "Oh, is this like some like
Yeah.
Sheila
setup?"
set this up for the
Yeah.
podcast.
And
Right.
literally,
No.
they had come from their farm
Yeah.
nearby, and were delivering milk.
Right.
here. I
You
mean,
said
this wasn't
40
a-
minutes away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
That's
wasn't
incredible.
a tanker truck, coming from some
No,
large
no.
dairy
No.
production. This was a small family dairy delivering the milk here, and I was just like,
It's true.
how do you not want to love this cheese?
Right.
But I
Yep.
think it's when you're looking for the highest quality, that is the steps that you need to take, is
Yep.
to work with smaller families like that. And even with Isigny, bringing it back to that, they have third, fourth generation families. I think Sheila has done a very good job of looking at quality first and, making that match,
And-
I would say.
Yeah, I mean, when we moved away from having our milk be farmstead,
Yeah.
we really needed to look at farmers who were willing to not use, massive, mass-produced, constant pumping of milk through pipeline type producers. And, the Amish family that was here, the Eli and his children, they're the perfect example, because they take great care with the milk. We're at their farm usually 6 days a week. They were here helping us out today because we had a van that was a little sick, and so it just, and again, it shows the teamwork, and I think that I think that teamwork is such an important part for me in everything we do, because if I did not have this phenomenal team that I work with, from the farmers to the cheesemakers to the front of house restaurant people, we couldn't be the great company that we are. And we are. I feel confident saying we're a great company because of the team that I work with, and Isigny. I mean, that just goes to show you work with a great team, and then you have
expand. France behind you.
You can expand to an even greater and better team with Isigny.
And we didn't even get into that.
No.
And that I think to me is also a very strong statement about the quality and everything, the ethos and everything that's going on here. Is you have one of France's greatest producers of cheese and butter that has joined forces in a collaboration to say, this is a cheese we want to work with, we want to represent you, we want to partner with you. Oh, what an honor.
It's really
so
exciting
powerful.
for us. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm so excited to be selling Nettle Meadow cheeses. To have this kind of quality and this partnership is really a test of so many things.
But it's like you're getting the French stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm a Francophile, so I can say that, maybe the French, think very highly of their own cheeses and butters. I think you're getting like the gold seal when they want to work with you.
We were showing them side by side at Fancy Food Show, and we had so many other French people from all over the show stop by to taste it because they were like, "This is unbelievable. Say Janelle, it's brilliant. Like, I can't believe you guys are getting to sell this. This is made in the U.S. Like, oh my God, this is amazing." And that Isigny is excited for us to do this and spread the word and help Sheila expand to be this. Right now we're in the marketing and sales part of the relationship, but we are just like, how do we spread the word? How do we celebrate Sheila? How do we preserve this cheese? We're not looking to change anything about her. We just want to get the word out there.
100%.
Yeah.
You touched on this in your podcast, Cutting the Curd. Sheila's a pioneer in the American cheese movement. And, some of the names that you mentioned on the show, her, your name and her name should be mentioned in that same breath, because this cheese is worthy.
Yeah, she's kind of been hiding in the mountains, as I've been saying, for a little bit. And now we're like putting the spotlight on
we
her.
need to get a cell tower for up there.
100%.
I think that's the only
I
issue,
heard one
right?
was coming, right?
Rumor has it there's
You
one
someday.
coming.
So just let me know. So I know in the next few weeks you're going to be
Kind of a rebranding, which is it's a really cool. The thing I love about this rebrand is that it's very classy and yet retro. Like, it's not super modern, it's not super sleek. It's more class and a little bit of kind of that retro mountain type branding, which I think represents us so nicely. And it's simple, like our cheese. Our cheese isn't overly fancy.
So I think the goal was to go timeless
Mm-hmm.
and to highlight the Southern Adirondacks. And so we looked at vintage posters from the Adirondacks and kind of tuned that into the label to give it this like Catskill Adirondack flair, which right now people are living outside the normal cities, and Sheila is making great cheese up here. And it's like, it's just such a you said sophisticated, I believe. It is a very sophisticated look, and I'm really proud of it. And I can't wait for consumers to see this. It's just so much easier to see the label and read into what Nettle Meadow is all about.
Once you give us the go, we'll put it on our Instagram too. So
Oh my God,
everyone
yes.
can see it.
I can't wait.
That'd be great.
It's going to be so good.
And another thing I'd love to mention, we're here at the Hitching Post in Lake Lucerne, New York. There is a wonderful restaurant connected to the actual cheese making facility. Not only can you buy the cheeses to eat on a beautiful board, but you're working these into recipes
Absolutely.
in the restaurant.
Yep.
If you are anywhere within 4 or 5 hours of New York City, make it a point to come up here because it's stunning. It's stunningly beautiful, I imagine, year round. And there's just this really warm environment in this oversized log cabin.
Yeah, I
of a
wasn't sure if we
restaurant.
mentioned that because it's a log cabin. It's an
Yeah.
old banquet hall that Sheila converted and restored to a creamery restaurant.
Absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. When is it? You said the 20s?
It was built. The upper portion here is like in the late 30s. I think there was some speakeasy portion in the 20s that happened in the basement, but the whole thing was completed somewhere in the 30s, and it's just beautiful. It was quite the dining hall, quite the like wedding and big party spot back in the 30s, 40s, 50s. And I can't tell you how many families have come here and said, oh, my mother got married here, or my grandmother got married here, or my parents met here. We have a waitress whose parents were married here, and then one of our first parties was their 50th anniversary. So
That's amazing.
so yeah, it's a great local spot. People care about it so much. People remember it. It's a lovely environment, and again, just I cannot emphasize enough how fantastic of a team we have that works here at the restaurant, from our kitchen manager, chef, to our front of house people. It's just a lot of passion for the cheese that we put into the food and the food we make here.
I mean, so you have the animal sanctuary, you have the creamery, you have the restaurant. The revenue from the cheese making goes back to the animals. So you're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
When we were there visiting the sanctuary, there was a few families walking around. So they could make a donation and then walk around and feed the animals.
Yep.
So also, an activity if you're in this area, eat at the hitching post, go visit some animals, and do some good.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Spot on.
It's a great location, I think.
Have a Kunik cookie.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the Kunik cookies.
I love that with coffee.
So good.
It's like my secret cheat.
Thank you so much, Sheila.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
Cara.
thanks for having us.
This
is
It's
amazing.
I knew I knew Kunik before I came here. I knew it was great. Seeing the whole lineup
It's special.
really is wonderful. The Three Sisters just blew my mind.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for taking the time to come and experience it.
We'll
really.
be back.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Ingredient Insiders. Follow us on Instagram at Ingredient Insiders. You can find the products we discussed on today's episode at chefswarehouse.com or at your favorite specialty retailer.